Hi, everyone, Wismerhill here. Today, I want to share with you an in-depth build guide of the Outer World speed farming variant of the Ice Spikes Blizzard build. The Outer World features Arcane Tremors, Whispers, and Helltides. Speed farming in the Outer World of Diablo 4 is not challenging at all, given that the maximum level of enemies is 103 in the Helltides and 100 elsewhere. Consequently, we can afford to assemble a utility build that emphasizes mobility, resource generation, lucky hits, and quick application of freezing and vulnerability. All this is done at the cost of damage and by taking just the right amount of armor, resistances, and health points. The result is a very fast build that is extremely enjoyable to play. Let's talk about the gameplay and what defines this build's unique aspects. The Ice Spikes Blizzard build is naturally very slow because the ice spikes appear randomly in the blizzard, preventing us from aiming precisely at a target. To counteract this and achieve the best Outer World speed farming build, our main source of damage becomes the effect of the unique rings X-Fall and Blue Rose. When lucky hits trigger the X-Fall explosion effect, its explosion is centered on the enemy. Similarly, when lucky hits trigger the ice spike from the Blue Rose, this stalagmite is centered on the target. Adding to this the ability to group up enemies so that a single proc from one or the other rings decimates the entire group, we get the fastest variant of the Ice Spikes Blizzard build. For this build to be functional, we need several sources of lucky hits procs. For this variant, we use Blizzard, Meteor, and Ice Shards. The lucky hit proc rate of Meteor is 40% on impact and then 40% per burn tick, that of Blizzard is 33% per cold damage tick over time, and that of Ice Shards is 16% per impact. Meteor and Blizzard are cast manually, but Ice Shards, being played as an enchantment, are triggered automatically as soon as we freeze an enemy with Frost Nova or through exposure to Blizzard's freezing. To optimize the lucky hit procs, it's crucial to group up enemies, so they are all affected by a single Meteor, a single Blizzard, and each Ice Shard ricochets on two enemies. As a result, this build is extremely effective against numerous enemies but much less so against a single isolated target such as a boss. Therefore, use this build only to speed farm the Outer World. The variant of this build for speed farming Uber bosses is coming very soon on the YouTube channel. When it is not possible to group up enemies, in the Outer World events or when summoning the Herald of Malphas from the Arcane Tremors, for example, we then use the ice spikes triggered by Blizzard. Their random placement combines very well with the random spawn location of the enemies. In fights against a single target, such as the commanders of the Helltides, we also use the ice spikes triggered by Blizzard to deal damage. Even if this variant of the build is not the most optimized against bosses, the colossal damage of the ice spikes triggered by Blizzard is more than enough to kill a zone boss in a 1v1 within an acceptable time frame. Thanks to the legendary power of the Frozen Tundra, which increases the explosion radius of the ice spikes from Blizzard and the ice spikes from the Blue Rose, we're going to counter the random nature of the spike placement by increasing their range. This power is mandatory for the build to function correctly. Now, let's focus on the items needed to put this build together. The Raiment of the Infinite is, as in many Sorcerer builds, an essential prerequisite for this build to be functional. Area of effect damage is king in Diablo 4. Unfortunately, this chest armor has a very annoying bug. If you group up too many enemies around you and you can't move, then you can't cast any spells either. You're stuck until you can extract yourself from this group of enemies. This bug is very annoying and significantly slows down speed farming sessions. To counteract this bug, I play with the legendary power of Ghost Walker imprinted on the boots. This allows us to pass through enemies and completely cancels the bug. If you're watching this video from the future and this bug has been fixed, then I suggest using the legendary power of Bounding Conduit instead, which is superior. Our helm will allow us to address the issue of armor in a single piece of equipment. Against level 103 enemies from the Helltides, you need 9,443 armor to benefit from 85% reduction of physical damage. Against level 100 enemies, you only need 9,216 armor. To reach at least 9,443 armor in this build, you must equip the legendary power of Disobedience on the helm plus have a percentage of armor affix on it. This, combined with eye level 925 items from head to toe, will provide you with more than 9,443 armor, allowing you to achieve the maximum physical damage reduction against level 103 enemies. Regarding elemental resistances, we bring them to the maximum of 70% through Paragon tables, gems embedded in our amulet and rings, and our intelligence affixes. Let's now discuss our mana generation. Thanks to our unique pants, each time we use teleport or flame shield, we generate a significant amount of mana. Be sure to wait until the uncontrollable effect of flame shield is finished before using teleport if you need to quickly generate mana twice in a row. If you're already uncontrollable, becoming so again will not give you the mana. Also, keep in mind that the teleport enchantment does not make you uncontrollable. The second way to generate mana is through lucky hit procs. Thanks to the affix of our gloves and the frigid breeze node in the skill tree, we have the chance to generate mana occasionally on lucky hit procs. I take this opportunity to tell you that frigid breeze is bugged because it can be triggered by fire and lightning damage in addition to cold damage. Let's quickly talk about your equipment affixes. You will find a link in the description of this video to the build planner showing all the affix roles you need to have. It is extremely important to have the roles for mana cost reduction, resource generation, lucky hit, and cooldown reduction for this build to function correctly. Thanks to an optimal mana generation, we will be able to play the two most efficient offensive legendary powers for speed farming, acceleration and ancient flame. These two legendary powers plus the attack speed affix from your gloves will increase your attack speed up to 90%. The Ice Spikes Blizzard build scales extremely well with attack speed, provided mana is not an issue of course. The faster you attack, the more quickly the ice spikes will occupy the whole blizzard space, thereby drastically increasing your chances of hitting a target. Moreover, this build is so enjoyable to play with 90% attack speed and is very satisfying visually to play. The legendary power of acceleration is triggered by the critical damage of your ice shards enchantment. As for the legendary power of Esu's ferocity, it is bugged. The critical damage of cold and lightning is also increased in addition to fire damage. Regarding the setup for Season 3 seasonal power, we want utility stats. We want the Seneschal to generate mana, make enemies vulnerable, increase our damage, and reduce the damage we take. This is the optimal configuration for speed farming the outer world if we don't have any unique ubers. You will find at the end of this video a section related to optimizing this build with unique ubers. Let's now study the skill tree. Feel free to examine all the details in the build planner link because we will only focus on the notable points of this build. For speed farming the outer world, we need to freeze enemies as quickly as possible when Frost Nova is on cooldown. Cold Front and Cryomancy will respectively increase multiplicatively and additively the freezing applied to enemies by Blizzard. Enemies are frozen very quickly, and the Ice Shards enchantment is triggered immediately, which increases our attack speed and triggers lucky hit procs. These nodes are mandatory for the build to run smoothly. Killing enemies on fire when ice armor is active and after spending 50 mana will respectively increase our mana generation by 45% additively, 25% multiplicatively, and 6.7% multiplicatively. This, combined with the resource generation of our willpower and our equipment affixes, will regenerate 40 mana per second under these conditions. This greatly contributes to the stability of our mana. To conclude with the crucial aspects of the skill tree, let's emphasize that we need as many points as possible in Teleport and Frost Nova to reduce the cooldown. Therefore, we will assign 5 points in addition to the 7 points conferred by the affixes of our equipment. It's useful to note that the lower the cooldown of Teleport, the lower the cooldown of the Teleport enchantment as well. Regarding the Paragon setup, I chose to play 9 Paragon tables, 8 glyphs, and 2 legendary nodes. The main function of this Paragon setup is to immensely increase our damage. Since we have configured the rest of the build to provide utility, we need a place where we increase our damage sufficiently to one-shot elites and trash mobs. Beyond damage, this Paragon setup allows us to max elemental resistances to 70% as previously mentioned. The only utility nodes of the Paragons are Reservoir and Advantage for mana and lucky hits. The complete configuration is available in the video description. This speed farming build is optimally playable without any uber unique. However, if you wish to add them, I recommend replacing Safeguard support with Genesis on the Seneschal and replacing the ring you like least with the Starless Sky Ring. You do not need Shaco or Evernight because adding skill points to Blizzard does not increase the damage of the ice spikes. I sincerely hope that this video guide for the Ice Spikes Blizzard build for Outer World speed farming has entertained you and taught you something. If so, write in the comments what you learned to allow me to better gauge the level of detail I should include in my videos to adapt to my audience. If you want to support my work, you can make a recurring donation on Patreon. That's what will help me the most to continue uploading videos for you. The next multilingual videos on the channel will focus on the Boss Killer variant, the Tier 100 Nightmare Dungeons and Tier 100 Vaults variants of the Ice Spikes Blizzard build. This is Wismerhole, signing off. Take care, friends, and see you in the next videos.